Hello and welcome to the Anyone Can Play Guitar podcast,
which gives you, the listener, a series of hints and pointers on your journey as a musical artist,
providing you with interviews from those in the music industry, along with our own experiences.
Ben and James shine some light on the many pitfalls and opportunities that being a musician has to offer.
Last week, Ben was in the amazing radio studios with Frankie Francis of Frankie and the Heartstrings to talk forming a band, investing in a band and band identity. This week we continue with Frankie to talk publishing deals, opening a shop and radio.
Hello and welcome to episode 29 with me, Ben, and him,
James.
Part 2, James, Frankie Francis.
Yes, here we are.
Last week was Frankie and the Heartstrings, this week's more Frankie and the radio.
Right. See what you've done there.
We've got a little bit of business from last week to take care of from the band days, though, haven't we?
Yes.
One of my favourite subjects, pizza.
Yes, pizza.
Well, whatever, right? But I just like it, okay? And we're going to have that more detail in a moment. But, got a bit of radio this week, bit about Pop Rex this week, and a bit about a football club that's 6 miles down the road from us.
Yes. He's got quite a range of things that he's been involved in outside of just being a musician.
Yeah, and that's why he's a great guest, because it's like the side of getting signed, the touring, the writing, all that sort of stuff, but also other aspects of the music world, i.e. radio, which is probably his biggest thing, really. And actually, at the minute, it's probably his main job with the Frankie and the Heartstrings.
Yeah, I was interested how he's gone full circle, isn't he?
Yeah.
He started studying for that when he was far younger.
Exactly.
And it's not until he's been through the whole cycle of being a musician that he's started to get back into it. So.
And we recorded this at Amazing Radio Studios. We mentioned that last week, but again, it's worth mentioning. That was very
thank you to them.
Yeah,
indeed.
And also, it made a big difference for the sound quality.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did. It wasn't a pub.
No, that was a significant improvement. I hope you made numerous friends at Amazing Radio so that every episode from now onward can be recorded.
Well, I made one friend at Amazing Radio.
Right, that's not multiple, really, is it?
It's not, no.
No.
It's a multiple of one.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway.
Right. Well, probably don't need too much intro
to
this episode.
So,
let's kick off with Frankie Francis.
Yeah. So, one last thing about that time we mentioned before, pizzas. So, how does a company come to, like, say yourselves, first album?
Yeah.
It's with all due respect, it's not like you're a multi-million sales.
Yeah.
How do they get in touch and go, this is the song we want, it fits perfectly for our ethos? It doesn't matter that it's called Hunger.
No. Yeah, I think it was just by chance that it was called that, I mean, how it all came about was, the record did well. It charted. We got like 32 in the charts, which was like well above the expectations of our label, Wichita, who we ended up being with. And it was very early on, we were aligned with publishers from Domino Publishing, which is the sister company to Domino Records company. And they were like, we love your music. We think it's very usable. And we were like, what the hell? What do you mean?
What do you mean usable?
What do you mean usable? And they were like, well, basically, a publisher would come in, buy the rights to your music, give you a lump of money for it, and it's in their interest to sell it on to get their money back,
Okay.
And they were like, I'm sure this will happen loads. And consequently, it has happened lots of times, but most predominantly, everyone will remember, we soundtracked our music was used on Domino's pizza advert, which again is another, just by chance, name coincidence. So someone got in touch with our management, who is Wichita Recordings as well, by the way. We just kind of like let them do everything.
Yeah, well, if you trust them.
We did. And we didn't want too many bodies in the way, We were very prepared.
Everyone takes a cut of it, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. But we were prepared to manage ourselves, but we weren't, we weren't prepared for some circumstances. So if a company like Domino Pizzas come along and say, we want to use this track, which is the lead single from our first album, which probably, will always be our first album, will always probably be mostly remembered by your first album. unless you have some kind of renaissance, which we're hoping for in 2019. So someone got in touch with management say, oh, someone wants to use your music for an advert. And at the time, because we were on a pretty sweet record deal and pulling money in from live, we were like, oh, well, sounds interesting. Let's see what they got to say. And they made an initial offer. And then our management knocked that back. Then our publishers got involved and were just like, this is a very serious offer. We're going to take control of this now. And knocked it back a couple of times, came back, and it turned out that the final offer they agreed on was enough to keep us out of work for another 2 years, all 5 of us. So we know it's not as if like we all like took a massive check and spent it straight away. It went straight in the kitty, and we all drip fed ourselves enough to sustain ourselves for another.
We like to talk about the business part of it because not enough people do that.
Yeah, exactly. And our management went straight away. It was like, you're not getting your hands on this. Like, you're going to make this last as long as you can because you don't get paydays like this very often at all. And they have a roster of 20 brilliant bands, Wichita, and they know like someone they signed for $5,000, which wasn't us, but like if there's something like this came along for them, that could sustain them for so much longer, and they could get so many more records out of that. And that's what they want. They want to hear great music from people they believe in. Yeah. So they were like, right, take this money, put it in the bank, drip feed yourselves a wage. By the way, what we drip fed ourselves a wage was well below minimum wage, but it was enough to pay the bills. And because they're out and about all the time anyway, you live on like rider sandwiches and home cooked meals in bloody Belgium or something like that, you know what I mean? So you don't tend to touch your pay because you just get fed in every day anyway on the road.
Yeah.
So it was made clear to us that that money was very handy, and we had no issue about them using it because we were able to sustain what we consider the most amazing break of our lives, and I still think it is. And so when they came along and said, "Can we use this?" we were like, "It's pizza. We eat pizza. We've got no issue with this." Maybe if it was like, I don't know, there's been a lot of hoo-ha recently about a certain company being involved in a exhibition of the North.
Yes.
So if it was them coming along and say, "Can we use your lead single from your debut record to soundtrack our new advert for our product?" we'd probably say, probably not. But, if it's something we consume, I can't see the problem with it,
Yeah, without a doubt. And if I think most artists will go, well, yes, this is going to sustain my art.
Yeah.
Some people will go, no, and that's fine. That's fine.
Completely fine. But everyone,
totally fine, it's a sensible thing
to sustain your art. Come on, it's a no-brainer, really, especially with the product. And we were just like, great, bring it on. And it was been great for us because people will hear our music, and that's how people hear music these days.
Yeah, it is.
I can be watching TV and hear an amazing track, and I'm like, what is this track? Shazam it. And I actually do Shazam it, and sometimes it even says Shazam on the bottom, and they recommend that you do so. And sometimes I hear a track and I'm like, that's brilliant. That happens for older music as well. I'm like, what is this? One of my dream jobs, I think, would be to pick music and stuff for commercials and TV and films and stuff like that.
That's one of my dream jobs as well. Soundtrack.
So someone's got a massive record collection, found like an album track from the 70s, or maybe something new that no one's heard of yet, and exposed it to the world. I think that's absolutely brilliant. And you've got to take those breaks because there's no Top of the Pops anymore. There's no NME anymore. There's nothing fighting your corner. So take those breaks, I say.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. So moving past the Heartstrings, but moving on from that, and we're sitting now in Amazing Radio, in Gateshead, Tyne Bridge.
Yeah.
How did this come about? So,
well, I guess
you've got a degree in radio, as you say.
Yeah, I've got a degree in radio, and that's something I was really passionate about, and that all stemmed from listening to John Peel in the back garden and stumbling across his Glastonbury thing. When I became addicted to John Peel, even did my dissertation on John Peel as well, and that remained forever. One regret I do have about our music career is that John Peel was never around to play our music because he died when I was at uni, and I would love that. I would love to hear what he said about it, or if he didn't like it, I like that even better.
Why don't you like it? And can I write
exactly.
a song?
Yeah, you probably played at the wrong speed. It's your own fault, John. But yeah, so the reason now I'm sitting here right now is, again, I've somehow landed up in another dream job. But I think I've grafted for this with the band and stuff like that, and this is where I initially wanted to be.
You don't get here by accident, do you? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I suppose so. And on the second album, we thought it was a really good idea to open a shop and sell our music to the public on the street in Sunderland, our hometown. And we did that. We opened a shop called Pop Rex. We got as you do for every album, you get like a campaign budget from your record company. And we decided to use all that money, every single bit of advertising, everything, into opening this shop, which we did in Sunderland, and it was a roaring success. I mean, it was really hard graft, we fell out, but enough to be in the band together, but there was fisticuffs and everything. That's how much stress it was running this shop between the five of us.
For the right reasons. Cool.
For the right reasons.
Yeah.
We wanted to see a shop in Sunderland, and there is already a good record shop in Sunderland called Hot Rats, I must say that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But we wanted, but you couldn't always buy what I was listening to in Hot Rats, so I thought, maybe our shop could be a little bit different. Plus, we get to open our shop with us front and centre, our product front and centre, to sell it to the people who from Sunderland, our hometown, who would come in and buy a record off us. It was also massive, this premises we got. We pulled in every favour we had. We've been on some pretty big tours. Anyone we've ever met in a corridor, in a venue, we pulled them in, and we got, Buddy John Boy, Franz Ferdinand, the Kaiser Chiefs, the Vaccines, the Cribs, and everyone we spoke to, and they all played in Sunderland, and they all played for about £5 door entry because of the town we were from. We thought, why should people have to pay extortionate fees? And we explained this all to the artists, we were like saying, we want to put a gig on with you guys in our shop, our venue, and we're going to charge a £5. We're going to charge £2.50 if people are on benefits as well. And every one of them sold out. People like James Bay came and played,
really?
We had everyone played. And that was great. And the big gigs were absolutely brilliant, We put a little bar on, use my license once again. So it was all above board.
Keep that going on, yeah.
And it was great. We made our own beer. And sold our own beer.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and we did everything. We built the bloody things for the records to go in, and we begged, borrowed, and steal a coffee machine. We did everything. We then roasted our own coffee bean. We had our own bean roasted. We did absolutely everything. The only thing we didn't do was milk the cows, for the coffee. We did everything, and it was really hard.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why there's only a couple of independent record shops in every other city, is because essentially no one buys records anymore as much as they used to, and because we were so niche, I think, and trying to do what we do, it was unsustainable for five of us to draw a wage from that, because that's where we were at that point.
Yeah,
we weren't getting wage when we're out on tour, so something had to give. And I got offered initially a job at Sunderland Football Club, working on their concert team, and at the time they were having
lots of
huge concerts there. Everyone from One Direction, Foo Fighters, Beyonce was the last one. Everyone. Someone by chance asked me on a night out. It was actually the commercial director at the time, who I knew just by going out, bumped into him. He was like, "You should come work on the concerts with us." And at the time we were pulling like literally £50 a week each from the shop. It was nothing. And we all had responsibilities. We all had rent to pay. And I was like, I'm gonna have to do it. So I said to the lads, "Listen, this is not working for me. I need some more money to get by." But I've been offered something related, and it was 3 days a week. It was a 0-hour contract, 3 days a week. So imagine being on a part-time contract, but imagine that part-time contract was 0 hours. So I literally had no rights whatsoever. But I did that for a couple of years, and I'm still in the Sunderland Football Club as well, which will probably come on to. And Sunderland Football Club has undergone some bad times at the minute. In fact, right now it's probably the lowest it's been in its history.
It's possible.
And part of that was a year ago in January, there was a lot of redundancies made. Because I was on my 0-hour contract, I was the first out the door kind of thing.
Of course.
So I was like, fine, what am I going to do? The same week, I got a phone call from Amazing Radio, where I had previously done cover work for during the pomp of the band and stuff like that, and saying that their drive time presenter was leaving, and what was I doing at the moment, and would I like to come in for a chat? So came in for a chat, and I'm like, basically, the guy who does Amazing Afternoons, which is the show I work on now, is leaving, and he and I, the producer who was speaking to, think you'd be the right fit for it. It's a new music station. We're very passionate about new and emerging music. As we were as a shop, we weren't just pulling favours from James Bay. We were putting on everyone.
Yeah.
If someone, that's the whole thing about Pop Rex. It was a stage that wasn't exclusive. If someone wanted to do a gig in Sunderland, they got the stage, you know, and it was free in, you know.
Yeah, well, the likes of James Bay and Franz,
Yeah.
they pay for next 10 bands to come in.
Of course they do.
Make a loss from.
Of course they do. And that was the thing there. And, you know, they were like, we know you're into new music, which I am. You know, I've always been passionate about trying to find the next... I want to be excited by music.
Yes,
so
this is the whole reason of the podcast, yeah.
I want to be excited by music, so I'm constantly looking, you know, blogosphere and stuff like that. And I used to listen to Amazing Radio, and when I'd get to come in and work and do cover, I loved it. So he was like, would you consider it? And I was like, it couldn't come along at a better time.
That's some nice serendipity.
Yeah. The shop was struggling again, so much so that it then went down to just Dave and Michael working in the shop. They had a really successful crowdfunding event, and they put it on the internet. They did a Kickstarter and said, like, you know, we can't afford to be in this premises we are right now. If you like pop recs, donate some money here. And I think they raised like 20 grand.
That's good.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
I'll take it for a long time.
And to this point, I think where they are now, and you'd have to speak to the guys themselves, because day-to-day business now, I have nothing to do with the shop. Very proud that we set it up, and now, you know, we have that heritage now. But I think now they're looking to move to another premises. Okay. Even bigger premises, but because they've gone down the Arts Council route and some kind of other funding routes, they're going to get like more specialist funding and stuff like that. So it's going to be a wider thing. As before, it was just a record shop and a coffee shop and a venue. Now it sounds like it's going to be some kind of arts hub, which is brilliant for our hometown, Sunderland. But I've been out of there for a little while now. But being able to do something amazing, which is, excuse the pun, which is being on the radio and play new music, which combines two of my loves.
And I've written down here. So how much control do you have? So if we take the example of Shopping, who 3 albums in, but they're still relatively new on a few radars.
Of course, completely.
Someone like that, they're probably perfect for your show. What about if like Frankie and the Heartstrings was starting now? Like, how could an unsigned artist or an emerging artist get in touch to get played?
It's a completely level playing field, and that's what I love about Amazing Radio. We have an uploader page called amazingtunes.com. You literally upload your music, create a profile, and if someone hears it upstairs in the offices and we pick up on it and we like it, that song could be on our A-list on the playlist. Right. And it could even be demo quality. Of course, we've got to consider certain amounts of radio standards. Yes. So we do adhere to the radio standards. You know, if it was like 3 minutes of swearing or farting, we wouldn't want to play that.
Or you and the field music doing a 17-minute version of the end.
I mean, everyone wants to hear that. Yes. And someone will have it somewhere. But it's not going out on daytime radio. And
drive time especially.
Exactly. And so... It's complete level playing field, and we don't even consider the fact that they're on a certain label or they've got a certain PR emailing me saying, "Oh, you should totally play this." It's not even considered. If it's good, it's played. I get a 100% decision on what's played on my program. We have a playlist, which is very handy because we use that for a heavy rotation. So, and like any other radio station, we have an A, B, and C list, a specialist, and a new music deck. And we have weekly playlist meetings in this very room where we're recording this podcast, where all the members of the radio team, there's about 7 or 8 of us, sit down and discuss music that we submit. So we listen through the uploader page. We then find, we all take a couple of tracks in with us, 4 or 5, can be up to 20 each if you want. If we've got the time, we'll go through it. Go through them. We all decide as a group if it's good enough, it's good enough. And we all agree on it, and you really fight for it passionately enough, you'll get it on there. Wow. And then it goes on the playlist. And then, you know, we've had some great examples over the years. Here at Amazing Radio, I guess one of the biggest success stories is 1975, the XX, the Alt J, people like that. You know, you heard it here first. That's the kind of tagline. But in recent times, we've had someone like a guy from Stockton, I'm a big fan of, called James Leonard Hewitson, right? He sent me a demo because he liked the band I'm in, and he was like, what shall I do with this? I was like, upload to Amazing Tunes. We played it. I took it into a playlist meeting. A couple of people were like, yeah, it's all right. And I was like, I think he's got something. So, you know, we played it, went on the playlist, and within 2 weeks, it was on like Made in Chelsea.
Really? Wow.
Towie, like, you know, which is the big breaks these days. We were speaking about earlier on. If you can get in the background of music on TV, that's your big break. And, you know, the guys now got a publishing deal and stuff like that. And I think that's just one example. You know, we have these meetings once a week. You know, like every week of the year. So this is happening all the time, and I'm so excited to find the next best thing.
And you still get loads of uploads as well.
Yeah, of all genres as well.
That's good.
And you know, I kind of wish like that more people knew about it as well. I want more.
Yeah.
I'm greedy. I'm really greedy for music.
Well, I don't think you can be, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really good, because I was wondering how much control, and like, could, let's just say, if it was my band, upload it and theoretically be on next to James Bay.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen on Radio 1, or
absolutely
no
not.
offence to them, I'm not trying to
and do you know what?
But
I think when we started, Six Music played a playlist, most stuff we have ever put out. But I think even now their catchment of what they play has become smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So things like Amazing Radio are kind of like unique, you know. And I think the fact that we're online as well, so we'll be playing this music, which may have started in Stockton of all places, but some guy in like Australia or North America will comment, like tweet us during the show and be like, "Hey, we like this new track by James Leonard Hewitson." Like, that's great, that, you know, isn't it? But that's an example of accessibility in music working for a beneficial thing.
Yeah, because I think I've spoken on this a couple of times about the romanticism of like having an album that you've saved up for, because you had to save up for tenner for a CD,
course, yeah.
Or you know that it's in your parents' wardrobe, wrapped for Christmas.
Yeah,
and you can't listen to it.
Yeah,
and I still think that's wonderful. But you're right, this accessibility, we spoke about the band shopping.
Yeah.
Discovering them literally I go on Apple Music, alternative, new releases this week, and then just go, that cover looks interesting.
Yeah.
So again, to come back to your cover of the covers of Frankie music.
Yeah.
It's important. All of this ingredients.
Yeah.
So that's really good. So I know this is going to be a ridiculous question. So radio, we asked this to Mark Radcliffe as well. It still has a place, do you think?
I think probably more so than ever.
Yeah, I agree.
But particularly bespoke radio, I think. Someone like ourselves, or even shows, because I don't like 100% of Six Music's output. However, I do think it's a really good radio station. I'd love people like John Ravenscroft on there, and Iggy Pop's show as well, and other programs as well on Six Music. But I also like Mark Radcliffe's program, and I also like Hugh Stevens' program on Radio 1.
Yeah.
And you kind of the way that radio works now is people listen back, and people listen at their own time. So as people listen to podcasts increasingly more, like this fine podcast, I'm sure. I like to go back and listen to radio shows, and not just to hear music I might have missed, but I like the craft of radio, you know, and you know, you're never going to be able to be allowed to watch the telly when you're driving a car, or when you're on the tube or something like that, or when you're painting, you can't watch the telly. But you can always have something a little bit passive in the background, and a friend or just a familiar voice, and I think that's what radio does.
I've heard that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and because the medium is music, it's just someone to signpost in between the music and just tell people who it is, where they're from, what they're about, where they're playing next. And, you know, that's all. And as a tool, I can't see how that can fault.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like, as you say, that familiar voice, that friendly voice, and it's also that trusting voice, as in, if you like, yourself or Radcliffe McConey or Keaveney in the mornings, they go, I like this band. You go, well, if they like it, I'm probably going to like it.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then more often than not, you are, because band that Mark Radcliffe mentioned, Ruse, listen to them and think, you know what, these are great, and we were going to get them on the podcast. The snow had a bit of issue with that. That's how we. That's
with
how
everyone.
That's how we're not on.
Worse than the traffic.
Snow and traffic. Yeah. So I totally agree. So there's a couple more things. I'm conscious of time. We've already mentioned Pop Rec, so it's still going. Still going
strong in Sunderland on Stockton Road now, next to the Bunker, which is the original rehearsal rooms in Sunderland.
That's what we mentioned on Ross. So, and that came from your marketing budget basically, but really it does promote what
Yeah,
the music.
Yeah, I mean, it was there was always there was a selfish reason to do it. It was to promote our second album, but the fact it's still remaining, and we haven't played there. We certainly haven't played in the new shop, and the amount of bands that have played through there now, the people started, since Pop Rex was first opened. I don't know what the date of the second record was, but 2013 or something like that.
13, yeah.
Since then, kids have formed bands, rehearsed in Pop Rex, and then play the first gig in Pop Rex, and that wouldn't have happened if Pop Rex didn't existed.
That's wonderful. That, yeah. Okay, so we always like to have other musical stories in here. So we've already mentioned before that you've got affiliation with Sunderland Football Club.
Yep.
I've got down the music man here, but that's just on your bio, isn't it?
Yeah. So my connection now with Sunderland Football Club is because I'm no longer employed on the payroll basis because I'm doing this now. Is that I program the music inside the stadium, which is something I love because I program my music for my show every day. So and that I was previously a season ticket holder before I worked for the club. So the fact that I can program the music for the halftime and before the match and stuff like that, and be able to highlight some new music in there as well.
I've noticed that on your playlist.
Yeah, so there'll always be the featured tracks are at the minute one from 20 years ago because the stadium's 20 years old this year. So whatever's number 1 20 years ago will be on there.
Right.
I'll also have a track from a player. To be honest, the player's choice of music most of the time is bad. Unless you're Duncan Watmore, he's got a fine taste in music.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And I tend to ask him more than anyone else. I also have new tracks and a local track. Always have a northeast based musician on there as well. So that's the premise of that.
That's good. So I quite like. I support a team in a different coloured shirt.
Okay,
but that's besides the point.
That's fine.
And I'm quite wondered how they pick their songs. So we got played at St James's before, and that was like.
Yeah.
In fact, it was the derby when we got beat
as
well.
Okay.
So we're like, doesn't matter, we got beat 3-0.
Yeah.
we got played at St James's. Yeah. Then we realised we got beat 3-0 in the derby.
Every cloud.
Yeah. So I often wondered how, like, I suppose that's quite nice if you've got something like Can't Help Falling in Love next to new music.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And it's great. It's particularly if the band's into music like ourselves. If someone 10 years ago said to me, when we're just starting out, and it's always like a new track by someone, I'm going to play you a track inside the stadium of light just before the players come out. People, I would have been like, what?
Yeah.
Dream come true,
Exactly.
So yeah, it's nice to be able to
That's
do
cool. I just quite like stories of how people are still active in music.
Yeah.
And still 28,000 people hearing your music.
Yeah, and
someone's going to go, what was that tune? And then get in touch with the club or yourself.
Exactly, or not just that as well. The club tweeted out. I do this like mad little graphic thing. It was meant to look like the back of a tape. That's what it's meant to look like. And the club tweeted out, and they've got like 1 million followers or something like that. You know what I mean? So if anything, that's good. And when it kind of like cuts. If you're watching like Sky Sports News or something, or Final Score, it kind of cuts at like half time. Sometimes the first song at half time is like a local track. Yeah. So like when it's going around the grounds, you'll hear the local track throughout the world.
That's good. More clubs should do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. I've taken up a lot of your time, so I'm really thankful for that. But last thing, I've already mentioned before we started, a good cause and charity of the week, if there's anyone you want to promote.
Yeah, well, Pop Rex is a charity.
Yeah.
It's established itself as a community interest group, which is a kick, and basically it only exists now. It's that far down the line on donations of sorts and funding they can get, and that donation could be you just paying into a gig, or it could be you going to buy a record that someone's donated, because all the records in there now are people's previous record collections.
Really?
They just give to the shop, and they said, if you can keep going with what you're doing, maybe their son or daughter has joined their first music club. They do music tuition lessons now and stuff like that now for free, and it's all there for the community to use. And the only reason it's there for free is because they're having donations to keep it going. So that is something that needs to keep going, and they're trying to find little pots of money all the time, and hopefully found a big pot of money to move to this new venue premises. But it is a charity, and because I've seen firsthand the power it's had, a kid coming to see, even if it was like a kid and his daughter, a guy and a daughter come to see James Bay for their first taste of live music. They got to see James Bay in a shop, right, in Sunderland with the dad for £5 or £2.50 if they want benefits, right? That kid's gone away, got a guitar for Christmas, started a band, now wants to be a musician. I think that's incredible. Like the expression they can get from that, you know.
It'd be quite nice if you played them here as well. Wouldn't it? If there's one come through going, told that story.
It has happened. There's a band called Roxy Girls.
That's good name.
It's a brilliant name. They're a 3-piece. I think it might be 4-piece now. They've recently, about a month ago, had their first demos up on SoundCloud. And I heard this. The two main guys behind it. There's a guy called Tom and a guy called... he gets called Blanket, but I don't know his real name.
Okay.
Aiden and Tom, right? These two guys who were basically kids when we first started Pop Rex in its first guise. They came to a few gigs, maybe like they rummaged around, wandered back out as shy little kids. Not even at college or anything. Now they're at university. They've formed this band. They've gained interest from all the indie labels, which we gained interest from. This only came out about a month ago. They've got a track called Dangerous Driving. And there's Ben Myers, who used to write for NME and Melody Maker and stuff like that. He's championed them as well already. And I've played and they got on the playlist last month.
That's wonderful. That's good. Radio. Yeah.
So
it's a nice circle.
Yeah. We're going to get into like Brentisms here, but like, see, circle.
Yeah. It's the scene circle. Yeah. Oh, I can't think of a better way to end it.
There we go. The circle of music.
Yeah. Frankie, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Come on then, pizza.
Well, I thought actually, you know what? Take the pizza out of it. Advertising or using your licensing your music for advertising is obviously a great revenue stream, but also it's a good way of getting your music out there. As Frankie and I spoke about Shazamming it or hearing music, it's a way of hearing music. And you and I have spoke about this before about using your music to advertise products, i.e. do you use it for every single product out there, and which could have various implications for
that's it. You know my concerns on this. I would always feel a bit nervous, right, if my music could end up anywhere. And it'll depend which sort of publishing deal you go for in terms of how much you get to say and how much you don't. But yeah, there's always a nag.
They had a lot of say in that though, didn't
they? They did, yeah. I'd personally be more comfortable with that, right? If I had a publishing deal where I had final sign-off on whether it does or doesn't go on to that advert or commercial, whatever it might be. The flip side is, even if you do have control, right? There's big sums of money we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'd be hard to say no, right?
It's a big carrot. Or pizza in this instance.
You don't carrot on your pizza.
Ugh, nah.
I would draw the line there.
Definitely. That wouldn't work. Just wouldn't work.
Well, I wouldn't be having it.
But
you'd probably eat it, actually.
Well, I'll try it.
I'll
try it. But there's lots of pros for it. I.e., it allowed them to be Frank and the Heartstrings for a lot longer.
Well, it sustained them for ages, right? I guess it depends how smart you are with it. Because again, not only is it going to be tempting to say yes to it, it's going to be tempting to spend a lot of it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would struggle to sit on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the figures or anything, but the fact that they lived off it as a band, 4 of them, I mean, I know they're 5 now, but it was 4 at the time, for 2 or 3 years, do you say?
At least 2 years, I think.
And it must have been...
Well, again,
nice chunk of change.
You could live very comfortably and it could pay your way for a year, or you could scrimp, save, only stay in hostels or cheap places when you're touring, and you could eke it out for 2 years longer. So,
or buy a Porsche.
Yeah.
That was just the first brand that came in my head. I don't know why, but yeah, you're right. I think they have used it because it was their first album as well.
I think you'd have ate pizza every night.
I think I've done that before. Left to my own devices.
What's your record?
What do you mean, what's my record?
You've definitely told me about how you've gone X amount of days and continuously eaten pizzas and pretty much nothing else.
Well, I think you're changing the story ever so slightly, James. When my better half went on her hen do, I ate pizza that entire weekend, which was 9 meals.
9 meals?
Well, one was a drunk meal, though. One was a coming in.
Or just one of them. So you decided to continue the theme.
Yeah, well, I just came in from the pub. It was for the match of the season. And we had some pizza. So, yeah. Frankie and the Heartstrings, pizza. It's a good combo. Why don't we move away from that and go into about what Frankie's doing now and his other interests in music. So mainly amazing radio. And
right.
So as he said, and as you said, he started out wanting to be in radio, doing his university degree in that.
I did say that.
Yeah,
so did he.
Yeah. And that's where he is now, amazing radio. So there was a little bit before that how he had a job at Sunderland Football Club doing the concerts and that. Then that came to an end, and then Amazing Radio came around on the quite prestigious show of the drive time slot, 3 till 7.
Mm.
Lot of
not
people.
A bad slot, Ben.
Not a bad slot, not at all. But that's really like playing music's really good, and obviously he enjoys it. But actually playing music for people is also
double play.
Yeah, I mean,
well, I got the impression that he has a reasonable level of control in terms of what he plays, which is quite good. They seem to have quite a small team that get together and sort of almost, I can't remember his words, but fight for a band.
Yes, there was. Yeah, if you really want to get it on, you fight tooth and nail for it, and they'll listen to everything that comes through.
Yeah, well, again, I mean,
just for the plug, amazingtunes.com. So if you want to upload your tunes there, someone will listen to it, and if they like it, they will take it to a meeting. He said himself in the very room we were sitting in. Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, why not? You know, it doesn't take. It's one of these things, right? You always say, well, it doesn't take 2 seconds to upload a song to amazingtunes.com, but there's obviously thousands of other places to upload your music to, so you've got to use your time wisely. But certainly from Frankie's point of view, I think we can be reasonably confident that he's the sort of person that would take all submissions fairly seriously and would actually wade through them. And
again, it's, like you said, as long as it's not like just barrage of swearing and fart noises, which is, you're not going to get played if you're going to do that anyway.
No.
And it's probably not your market anyway. Amazing radio.
I wouldn't like to think what your market was.
Unspeakable, James. An unspeakable market. So, yeah, like playing the radio, that's how we got started. Getting back around to it and playing on the radio, I think that'd be a great job, soundtracking someone's afternoon. And we spoke about soundtracking movies and soundtracking adverts in the interview, but imagine that, just soundtracking someone's afternoon at work or they're driving home from work.
Well, you like that whole DJ sort of caper, don't you?
I do, James. I do. I recently had a DJ performance for someone's wedding, and I thought it went rather well.
Well, it was all right, I suppose.
Actually, I did both weddings just for the record. Not that James has got married twice.
Oh, hold up!
Whoa.
Just roll that back a second.
Yeah.
But I guess that's in part where we're a bit different in the sense of you enjoy that whole putting together a playlist type thing more than I do. Not that I dislike it, but if I was going to spend my time doing something on music, it probably wouldn't be that. Whereas I know you'd be quite happy just, doing exactly what you and Frankie sort of...
There's an art and a science to this, James.
Well, no doubt. Well,
I keep telling myself.
Well, there's certain songs that I shouldn't follow other songs.
Yeah, I used to like doing mixtapes when I was younger as well. You may remember.
Yes.
But that's what radio is really. It's someone create. We've spoke about this with Mark Radcliffe. Curating a playlist for you, like a knowledgeable / knowing voice.
And I buy into that, right? Only a couple of months into having Apple Music, and I go to the search thing, and I'm like, who, what?
Who do I normally listen to?
Too much. Well, exactly. And then you default, right, well, I know this band that I've already listened to before.
Yeah.
And then part of me would then default to their in-app curation that they've got in terms of new or whatever the different categories that they've created.
Suggested playlists as well.
I definitely I subscribe to that notion that there's value in curation.
Definitely. And the radio station, that Frankie works for, Amazing Radio, I mean, they have, as he said, they were the ones that found XX, 1975, Alt J. These are bands who are on an alternative scene who have done very well.
Well, he made another good point about radio these days. So you might have a particular radio station that might be local to a particular geographical area of any country. But a lot of...
Being local.
Well, exactly. Yeah. The clue's in the title.
Yeah.
That said, a lot of those are now broadcast on the internet, and he was talking about how they get various listeners in Australia, for example, and
tweeting them at that moment.
Yeah, and lots of people will listen back to pre-recorded radio, which never used to be a thing. So the dynamic changes quite a lot in the sense that if you get played on a local radio station, your music could still be heard all over the globe, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's the more we've got into it, the more radio's still
it is
still a thing.
It is
definitely.
Yeah, the radio kind of guides you a little bit. And it's that if you trust Frankie choices or Mark Radcliffe or whoever, obviously you've got your own shows that you like, then you'll generally go, right, let's dive into them a bit more when I'm on Apple or Spotify. And that's good. And especially, I know we're banged on about it, but it's good for someone like Frankie who will play music from someone from, was it James Leonard Hewson? I can't say it.
You're right, you can't say
can
that.
I say it?
No,
Do
give it another go.
No.
I'll go on.
Hewitson. Yes.
You see, I knew you had it in you.
Yeah. As he said, not my words, Stockton of all places.
You could almost nearly say that.
I know. I need to put my teeth back in.
I think you should say that 3 times quickly. His name and where he comes from.
No, this may not end well.
Well, it didn't. So, the other...
There's 2 other things, really.
2 other things. Yeah. Go on, then.
Well, he's worked with Sunderland.
Right, go on, then. Well, so...
And the charity, which was actually before we spoke about radio, which is Pop Rex.
There was a bit on him doing the pre-match and half-time music that I hadn't really thought about. And he said, typically, for UK listeners who may watch various sort of football shows, if it's Soccer Saturday, for example, and they're going around the grounds, like he said, at half-time, you'll often cut to whatever stadium. So there's every chance that you might get 20-30 seconds of your song playing out to, well, thousands. I don't know how many Sky Sports Soccer Saturday would get, for example, but it'll be a lot of people. Now, again, it's a very small thing, but...
All it takes is a couple of people to go, that was really catchy. But then it's on and it's off, but still, it's in your head, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, getting played in any football ground, for the people who are in attendance, that's a lot of people to hear you.
Yeah, well, like I said, when we were played at St James's, fair enough, it was on one of the worst days in our recent history, getting beat by Sunderland 3-0. But there was 52,000 people there. That was the most people have heard our music in any one time.
Yeah,
in any space and time.
I went to work on the Monday, and there was various people came up to us, whether they'd been in the Newcastle or Sunderland end, and were like, "Oh, was that you that was playing on there?"
Exactly. And bit of credibility.
Oh, well, totally. So yeah, it's another avenue that I'd suspect that a lot of musicians wouldn't necessarily think about. Now, whether it's football, whether it's rugby, or whether it's any live sport, right? Typically, there'll be some music played before, during these games. So another avenue to look into.
And like he really does, again, like his radio show, he really does curate these lists. And if you follow him on Twitter or Instagram, he puts them on, and it's got, like, as he said, local music, choices by the footballers, which basically means Duncan Watmore. 20 years ago, choices he was making them in it because the stadium's been that old. So he really thinks about it, and like it's a thing he loves doing. When you put that much passion into it, you're going to pick the right things, and it bleeds through. So then, good cause of this double header. Yeah,
Pop Rex.
So we spoke about this in great detail before we got to the charity part of it. So I thought we might just speak about it now. But yeah, Pop Rex was the campaign budget for their album.
Yeah, well, it just shows something that was it going to be a 2-week pop-up shop to
Something
sell the
like that,
record,
yeah.
and it's now a really important cultural hub. Like they're doing all sorts of. Well, it's a massive range of things, but you can go and learn musical instruments. You know, you get discounted gigs depending on circumstances. Just all sorts of things like that.
But it's really good when we're talking about likes of Vaccines or James Bay or whoever play there. Then you could be playing the next night. Yeah, fair enough. The size of the crowd will be different, but that's the whole point. And it's not. And he said it's not about having James Bay on every night and making X amount through the tills. It's all about like that'll keep the lights on, but it means that the next 10 bands can play it on the same stage as someone like that who's played there. Yeah, and it's for someone.
I like that.
Yeah, it's also a different type of venue because we have played pubs up and down the country. Still need to play in the bar staff, but that people know is a space for art, as he described it. Whatever that art may be. So. It was a really good idea as the band to use as their campaign budget to sell their music,
as well,
promote their music, but it also gives that piece of culture and
important,
very
good,
important.
Good shout.
Yeah, so we'll put links on the website for that, and if you're in the area, have a look for listings for gigs that are coming up.
Indeed.
Excellent.
So coming up next week, we speak to Rick Witter of Shed 7 about instant pleasures, comebacks, record deals and social media.
We've reached the end of this week's episode of Anyone Can Play Guitar podcast.
Big thank you for tuning in, and remember to stop by iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.
While you're there, it would be amazing if you could leave a rating and a review.
All the show notes can be found at www.acpgmusic.com, and if you want to get in touch,
email us your questions, any feedback and any suggestions to info@acpgmusic.com.
That's it for now. Keep supporting upcoming artists,
and we'll catch you next time.